Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of AWM Insights. We're going to approach two very specific questions today. They've come up in conversations a couple times in a couple different ways, so we thought we'd pull them together in a consolidated question and address each one head on. We love doing this. It's great. We are actively hearing from clients via the team, and the team's relaying this stuff back to us. So keep doing that. It really helps us make sure we're talking about things that you all are interested in, as opposed to things that we only care about. Sometimes there's overlap there. Hopefully there's overlap more often than not. But yeah, anyway, when we know about a question or a set of questions, it's great to hit those head on. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Two basic questions we're going to jump into today are, can AI really trade for us and quote unquote beat the market? That's an interesting one for sure. Get why that's floating around there. And then second one, and these aren't really related, but what does it mean to strike out on an investment? Very important. And that one actually has some nuance. So let's address AI first and foremost. And really, I'm going to start the good old AWM Insights way and ask, what does the data say, right? Let's go there. We are data driven, as you all know, and we want to dig into it. AI is still very new, at least I would say in the common understanding of it, but it's a version of it you could say has been used in trading and investing for quite some time. I mean, maybe 10, 15 years. Through algorithmic trading and reinforced learning, et cetera. Certainly with the models that are available to us today, it's changed quite a bit, but it's been something we've been able to look at for a little while. And if you do go look into the data, look into studies, and actually AI helps us with that and really consolidate information, you go look at those studies, and the short answer is it's a mixed picture, which in our opinion is something that is not robust or not strong enough to really act upon. Really interesting to look at the data, but it's not strong enough to say like, oh yeah, there's compelling evidence here that we can use AI to really outperform. So that's cutting through the noise, cutting through the data, and looking at a wide range of reports, and basically cutting through it and saying, oh, actually, AI dedicated, usually hedge funds are deploying some sort of trading like this. AI-oriented hedge funds perform super similarly to the broader market, and in many cases underperform the S&P 500 and MSCI World. So why is that is the next question, but even maybe we can relate the general process, general topic here to some great analogies.
Yeah, I think why is that? It goes back to one of our core principles, and that's markets are efficient. For all of these big companies, you can think about an Apple, a Microsoft. You have millions of people actually looking at companies, researching these companies, acting on news, trading them every single day. And essentially what you have is a human operated AI trading system that's just the collective market. So yeah, the market is AI. So yeah, we're sort of entering this inception kind of paradox where you're kind of trying to do something that's already being naturally done. And I just want to highlight exactly what you said in terms of this isn't a new concept for markets or trading. Algorithmic trading has been going on for decades, and those tools are a lot more sophisticated than ChatGPT or anything else that, a consumer might be using on a base level. So this isn't really a new concept. I think where you see the application actually working when we're looking at the data is it works on smaller applications. So some European stocks, some micro cap US stocks, like AI has been shown to return a higher rate than the general asset class if you're really looking at a small picture. But that in and of itself kind of reinforces the idea of markets being efficient. Those are essentially like those returns are crumbs that the market isn't looking for, that really would be hard to implement or to gain at a large scale. If you really increase the scale of any of these applications, they're not going to have an excess return. So it's something that you kind of have to look at in a little bit more depth with a grain of salt and understand that, this has existed for a long time. And trust me, if there was money to be made in something like this, we would not be finding out about it right now. It's already been made in a way.
Well, and I think it's a great reminder, like kind of what you were going through, of how markets work, right? People find inefficiencies in the market all the time. We say markets are efficient, but actually inefficiencies and people searching for inefficiencies are part of that. It's a function of the market where you find, hey, we're trading for X, I think it's worth Y, and I have really strong conviction in that. That's an inefficiency. And if you're willing to put money behind that, great, good for you. That happens all the time. Some people get it right, some people get it wrong, and some people get it right spectacularly and really knock it out of the park. But by doing so, that collapses that arbitrage opportunity or that opportunity really, really quickly. And the piece that's really, as we'll wrap on this topic, that's really important to remember is, yeah, maybe it works in some part of the market or different countries, et cetera. It works for so long and then it might go away instantaneously. And then you're stuck chasing your tail or looking for the next little edge. And some people want to invest that way. It's a very, 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 very hard game to play. We talk about the data. It shows data in strategies like that, or data looking at strategies like that, show that the persistence, the repeatability, another way to say it, is just really not there. And so, yeah, maybe you get lucky doing it once, or maybe you don't, right? It's probably the odds are less than a flip of a coin. But if you do get it right, getting it right again and again and again is very, very difficult. And compounding wealth, which is effectively again and again and again and again, is incredibly powerful to your long-term plan. So let's switch gears a little bit, address the second question. What does it mean to strike out on an investment? Great question. I think, a lot of people probably have some really basic understanding or definitions of what this means, right? Obviously, making an investment, going to zero, underperforming, et cetera. Those are certainly ways of striking out. Although if you're properly allocated, guess what? You're going to have investments that go to I should say properly diversified, you're going to have investments that go to zero. They should be very small relative to the entire portfolio and not really have meaningful impact. Our definition builds upon that and adds a layer of nuance to it, which is striking out to us when it comes to investing is your inability to meet your priorities. Money is a tool to accomplish what's important to you. If you make a mistake or are not disciplined or follow these tried and true methods of long-term wealth accumulation, multi-generational wealth accumulation, and you miss out on your investment, that is striking out in our definition, right? We think money is a tool, and if you are disciplined and stay true and keep the long-term in mind, the odds of you missing out should be exceptionally low. And so great question here. And certainly, like I said, there's the normal concept of missing out or, striking out, going to zero, something underperforming, et cetera. But really failing to meet your investment goals are how we would define this, number one.
Yeah, I think that makes sense on a high level. I think on an investment level too, it makes sense to look at it from a strikeout basis. You're expected to strike out. Like Shohei walks up to the plate and he knows that there's a chance that he might strike out. It's not the end of the world. He's not going to be cut or, designated for assignment if he strikes out. But if you walk up to the plate and you strike out 100 times in a row, you might be more on shaky ground. He might not be, but some other people might be. So it's also, you have to qualify and quantify what striking out means and how far away it can move you to not being able to meet your priorities and what the loss given a negative outcome might be. Making sure that you do have a diversified pool of at-bats, you can just call them that, and that if one at-bat goes terribly wrong, and you miss swinging on 3 pitches is not the end of your career, is the only way to approach this. Like, you cannot have too much skin in the game on any one pitch, one play. You're always going to have a bad play sometime. Everyone does. It's just making sure that you don't have a ton of those, and they also don't wipe you out and take you out of the league, because they happen way too often.
Is your goal you keep?
Yeah. And even tying it back to like AI trading. Well, let's say you invest your money, large chunk of your money in this new AI tool that's illiquid, that's promised to, find some market inefficiency. It doesn't work. Like, you could be striking out for 5 to 10 years where the market's doing great and you can't afford that. And now you've lost a ton of purchasing power, and that's wealth that you can never get back. So making sure that your at-bats are focused, they're reasonable, you're following the game plan in general is extremely important.
Yeah. And then I mentioned it earlier, but compounding wealth is incredibly important. So not only do you want enough at-bats, you want them consistently kind of spread across games. You don't want them all in the beginning of the season when you're going through a funk, or, or even later in the season, maybe when you're absolutely killing it. You want to spread those things out so you have consistency, predictability, and you can compound on success and results for the long term. Awesome. Okay. Well, hope that was all super helpful for you all. Again, thanks for flagging some questions for those of you out there who did it. Just to kind of wrap here. So covered 2 different topics. Does AI trading work? Does it beat the market? And then how do we think about, or what does it mean to strike out in an investment, on an investment? AI really, ironically, makes trading more efficient, makes markets more efficient, and in a way makes it even more difficult to outperform. And certainly the data kind of shows that. And then striking out, right? There's all sorts of different ways to think about it. You should expect to strike out in some capacity when you're investing, but make sure you're getting enough at-bats so those strikeouts really don't move the needle. You're actually getting enough at-bats so you can build and compound on success, on successful investments more often than not. So hopefully, again, those were helpful. Keep them coming. If you have any questions, Mena's your man. He's going to drop his number here.
Yeah, shoot me a text, be reasonable. 626-862-0355. Always here to help.
And until next time, own your wealth, make an impact, and always be a pro.